The goal of this 10-minute diversity and discrimination activity is for students to engage in personal experience that will construct meaningful and long-lasting knowledge that will be helpful to them in real-world situations. The purpose of this video is to provide you with detailed instruction on how the diversity and discrimination activity is conducted in the classroom. If you have not yet watched the diversity and discrimination activity video part 1, click on the link up here or watch it right after finishing this video. Keep in mind that I've conducted this activity in 41 classes over a 5-year period, so if you have any questions or concerns, please make sure to ask them below, and while you're there, subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell for updates on new video releases. Also, let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in a live session to provide coaching, support, and tips on how this activity can be a great success in your classroom. Just like the channel name, your success is the goal. All right, let's get going so you can see how this diversity and discrimination activity works. The best setup for conducting this activity is to announce to your class at least one class prior to the activity date that there will be an in-class activity and that they should arrive on time and to be ready to move around the room as soon as class starts. To help ensure attendance is high the day of the activity, let your class know that there is a graded assignment associated with this activity that requires their presence. Do not tell them anything about what they'll be doing. No forecasting allowed. Also, stress that this is a no makeup class activity. I also send out an email reminder the day before the activity for them to be on time, along with a statement that the activity is required to complete the graded assignment with no makeups possible. For those inquisitive minds that just have to know more, just tell them it'll be fun, and they'll find out more when everyone else does. However, for students with legitimate and verifiable reasons for not being in class that day, I assign them a writing project that I'll provide to you as an option along with all documents needed to conduct this activity in the link provided in the description below. On the day of the activity, as students arrive through the door, I make sure to organize the group sheets so that the activity can begin as soon as the class is full. Now, you should know your class well enough by the time you conduct this activity that calling attendance should be optional. It just depends on your style. The first time you conduct this activity, I would recommend keeping this activity structure group breakdown chart handy. This is also included with the documents that are provided in the description below. This activity structure group breakdown chart shows the group sizes and is a great aid in how many group sheets you're going to need to carry around with you as students pick their groups. So group 4 should always be the smallest group, and groups 2 and 3 should always be equal. Now, group 1, that is your adjustment group. So you can either go really big or really small in that, depending how many students you have in the activity. The minimum size for this diversity and discrimination activity is 11. 24 is getting upwards towards the max. I've run it at both ends. I've also, unfortunately, only had 9 students show up because of weather issues one day, and I found a way to make it work. Just shrink the size of group 1. Remembering that group 1 is the elite, dominant group that everybody wants to join, it really can work out that way. You can technically even have one person in group 1 and have 4, 4, and 3 in the other groups. It just depends on your class structure. If your class size is larger than 25 students, you may consider running this in 2 groups in the same day. I have had a few discussions with teachers who have had 30 students or more per class. So if you do have that many students, please let me know in the comments below, and we can have that conversation live with the ideas that were exchanged and discussed on how to run a very successful activity with those bigger numbers. Once you know or feel that your class is full or at capacity, make the announcement. All right, from this moment on, no talking. You can giggle, you can laugh. You're going to be picking a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and there's a group 5, but don't worry about that right now. I'm going to come around and do that. Now, just so you know, once you have your group sheets that I have in my hand right here, you are going to start reading the instructions. Do not move yet until I tell you to. However, group 1, you're going to be in this corner. This is your home base over here. Group 2, we're going to have you over in that area. Group 3, you're going to be over in that corner. And group 4, you're going to be way over back in that corner over there. Okay, so ready? Here we go. I'm going to come around and pick a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. A basic room should have 4 corners or sides or areas. So make sure the biggest thing is that students are spread out, that their groups are not commingling. Group 1, if it's fairly big in a smaller room, and I've worked in some really small rooms, make sure that they stand a little bit closer together. So just say,
And make sure you stand a little bit closer together. Group 2, make sure you stay in your area. 3, you're good. 4, you're good way back there. The other thing is, make sure that if it's a big room, that they don't spread out. Students tend to all line up against the room and they spread out. Make sure that they're huddled up. So make sure you form a circle and gather up as you read your instructions. One of the best ways to set up your papers is do what I'm doing right now, is take each section and get a finger in between each of them. This really, really helps out as you're going through the groups, so you're not digging, as you can see how this works. All right, so now once I've made that announcement, it's time to pass out the sheets. So as you can see, I've separated the sheets with my fingers. This really helps for you when you have to go pass these out instead of digging. This saves a lot of time. And again, I've done this 41 times over 5 years. I've got a little bit of practice at this. But again, use the method that works best for you. Do alternate, flip-flop, whatever works. So here's what I do. I go up to each and every single student. I stand in front of them. I go, pick a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And they usually pick 1 first. So I give them a 1. I say, great. And by the way, everybody, once you get your group, please do not move to your areas, but I want you to start reading your instructions right away, okay? Then I go to the next person and I go, pick a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And they say 2, and I give them the number 2. Now mine happen to be pink, green, yellow, and orange. You can use whatever papers you want. I just happen to have these when I made the copies. These are actually the original sheets I printed out back in 2013 or 2012 when I first did this project. So they have made it this far. I think I've maybe lost 1 or 2 over the years, but I'm always cautious. Make sure you don't rip up my papers. I need to use these again. Okay, so let people know that too. So once all the papers are passed out and my hands are empty, I then say, all right, everybody, group 1, go to your home base. Group 2, go over to your area. Group 3, back to your area. And group 4, go way back to your area over there. I will be around in just a moment, and I'm going to tell each of you final instructions and answer any questions you have to a certain limit. And also, there's a group 5. Don't worry about group 5. I'm going to have that in the middle of the room, but don't worry about this right now. So as students are moving to their corners, remind them, no talking. Remember, laughing and giggling is okay, but no talking. I will be around. And I'm going to start with group 1 over here, then group 2, then group 3, then group 4. Okay, and again, this takes a little practice. If you're a very confident teacher, you will have no problem doing this. If this is new to you and it's your first semester, good luck. We'll figure this out together, though. I guarantee you, I can get you through this. Okay? Make sure to tell students also, do not begin until I tell you so. I've actually had students moving around as I moved to group 1. Group 2, 3, and 4 were already advancing to group 1, and I'm going to explain some of that coming up in a little bit. There's some really unique things that happen here. Make sure to tell students too, as they're going, do not begin until I say so, okay? If a student comes in late, they automatically go into group 1. Even if you're out of sheets, just tell them, go to group 1 and read the instructions. Group 1, share your instructions, but no talking. Very important, no talking at all. Because you will get some students possibly late. It depends on your group. The other thing is make sure that you have a timer. I use my wristwatch or I'll use my cell phone, and I will do that. If you tend to watch the wall clock, you might forget what it is, but if you write it down, that's good. Especially the first time or two you do this, you're more focused on what's going on in the room, and trying to watch the clock at the same time might be a little difficult. So set a timer. I'll just hit 10 minutes, and when it beeps, the activity's over. The very next thing I want to do now, I'm going to actually show you and demonstrate what I tell each group. So I'm going to start with group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4, and then we'll discuss some more right after I get done with those directions. All right, group 1, gather in closer. Come on, huddle up, in closer. Make sure that you hold your sheets in front of your body, just like this with the number out. Your instructions are here. If you have any questions or any concerns, read all of your directions. It's very important. The other thing is, for your group especially, you are the elite group in this room. You are the absolute #1 dominating group on the planet. Everybody in this room wants to be in this group. You need to follow your directions and act as a group. Support each other and do exactly what's in your instructions. Are there any questions? I can't answer that, but I can tell you this. Read all of your instructions. Any more questions? Great. Have fun. And remember, hold your sheets up and do not begin until I say so.
These are the instructions that are on the back of Group 1 sheet that students will refer to. This animation is of Group 1's instructions and shows what the group is trying to accomplish to solve their group's needs. This should give you a better understanding and a pretty good visual idea of what should happen, but not necessarily will happen.
All right, group 2, I'm coming over now. All right, group 2, gather in real close. Come on, gather in. All right, so you've all started reading your instructions already. Make sure that you always read all of your instructions. The other thing is make sure you hold your sheet up in front of you so everybody can see you're part of group 2. Now, group 2, this is home base, okay? This is your home right here, this area. If something goes wrong, if you're confused, you can always come back to home base. It's okay to do that. But make sure you always hold up your sheet, and if in doubt, read all of your instructions. Are there questions? I can't answer that, but I can tell you, read all of your instructions, okay? Great.
These are the instructions that are on the back of Group 2 sheet. This animation is of Group 2's instructions and shows what the group's goal is. This should also give you a better understanding and a really good visual idea of what should happen, but again, may not necessarily happen.
I gotta go talk to group 3. Hey, group 3, gather around. All right, so here's the deal. I want you to make sure you hold your sheet up in front of your body, just like this, so they can see the number. You've all read all your instructions already. Are there any questions? I can't answer that, but what I can tell you, read all of your directions. And also, act as a group, okay? Support each other, be together. The other thing is really important. This is home base. This area is your home base. If for some reason you're not sure what's going on, remember, read all of your directions, but do that back here in your area. Are there any other questions? I didn't think so. All right, good luck. Nobody start until I say go. Nobody move.
Here are the instructions that are on the back of Group 3 sheet. Their animation shows what the group's goal is. And again, this gives you a really good understanding of the visual idea of what should happen, but again, may not and probably will not happen.
I gotta go talk to group 4. Hey, group 4, gather around. I know there's not many of you compared to everybody else, but that's okay. Listen, biggest thing is act as a group. Stick together if you can, okay? The other thing is make sure you hold your sheet up in front of your body, just like this, so everybody can see that you're part of group 4. Your directions are also on here too, so make sure you always read your directions. If anything goes wrong or you're not sure what's going on, come back to home base. This is your home base back here, okay? This is your area. You own this area. Just make sure you hold your sheet up and read all of your directions. Are there any questions? I can't answer that, but what I can tell you is read all of your instructions. Everything is in here that you need to know, okay? More questions? I can't answer that, but I can tell you this. Refer to all of your directions. The answers are in here, okay? Good.
And last but not least, here are the Group 4's instructions. Their animation shows what their group goal is, and it gives you a good understanding and a pretty good visual idea of what their task is. But again, it probably won't happen the way it looks here.
All right, so now that I've explained to everybody in the room, I gave you just literally the bird's eye view of what I do. It's easier to do it that way. You need to make sure that nobody is moving. If they are talking, remind them, hey, no talking, be firm. Definitely be firm with them. This is gonna be a little stressful for them, but I guarantee you, there will be a lot of giggling and a lot of laughing depending on your class. I have had the funniest things happen. I'll get to that in just a minute. But the last thing you need to do, right after all 4 groups have been told, and say, everybody, remember, group 5 will be in the middle. It's gonna be right here. And these sheets you need to fold in half. Do not lay these flat. Set these up in like a table tent version. I've done this in computer lab rooms, my really spacious rooms, and I've been able to put them on computers. If there's people's book bags, chairs, put these here. Make sure that the 5s are aimed out. They'll know what these are pretty quick.
And here we have the Utopian Group, Group 5's final instructions.
As soon as you get back to a good observable area, usually I go back, I'll stand in the middle of the room and I'll watch everybody. I'll say, all right, everybody ready? You have 10 minutes. Remember, no talking, read all of your directions and begin. And watch the room. Make sure your timer's running. I once didn't do that and we went a little over. So be careful of that. Just little caveats, little warnings that can happen. All kinds of things are gonna happen. Usually what happens, group 1, all just stand there. They're not sure what to do. Group 2 and 3 and 4 start to migrate towards group number 1. Hopefully this is a really fun thing for you. I've actually had some of the most funniest things that we're still laughing about 5-6 years later. Group 1 was a fairly large group. I think it was about 10 students actually in that group. Without talking, they all locked arms and formed a big circle, and like an amoeba, went around and collected up people from each of the groups. They would literally absorb them in, they would pull them in, and they went back to their corner, and then they tightened ranks so tight nobody else could go, and they just stood there. Some of the cueing that you have to do is you will need to kind of motivate them a little bit, usually in the beginning, and it could be up to a minute where nobody moves at all. I've seen this happen, believe me. I don't want to say everything, because every time we did it 41 times, it was never the same twice. It's always different. It's based on who's in the room and the attitude of everybody. Some days it is just absolute laughter and it is the funnest thing you will do. Other times it's just, hello, anybody home? But they move, but they're not as engaged until afterwards. Then the conversation's really lively. It just depends on the students. So some things that you need to say to them. Group 2, what's going on back there? Group 3, what you doing? Group 4, what's going on? And again, you want to show them a little bit more sympathy, because that group definitely has it harder than any other group in here. Other things that you want to tell your students is there should be no pushing, shoving, jumping, or anything like that, okay? Hands off. This is a hands-off thing. Make sure everybody reads your directions and go, okay? So make sure there's none of that. As a teacher, we need to also manage our environment. If somebody's having some problems, you'll know it right away. If you see somebody, well, group 1 is not the best one, but usually group 1 acts together, but group 2 or 3 or 4, you'll just see them kind of slouch down. Just say, hey, what's going on over there? And they'll be like, I don't get it. Read all of your directions, okay? Act as a group. Group 3, support all of your group. So again, use your skill as a teacher to see what's going on. You know your students. Now, another warning is if a student has social anxiety or you know they have behavioral issues, make sure they go into group 1. It is the easiest, less stressful group. If somebody has mobility issues, whether they're in a device, I had somebody actually in a wheelchair, they were quadriplegic. I put him in group 1 and he just had a great time. For him, it was so good to be participating. He didn't have to move. I've had people on crutches. Get them in group 1. It's really easy to do. Don't have them trying to move around. If there's book bags in your room, make sure that they put those up on the chairs. Trip hazards are never fun. Again, good classroom management. We should have a good time with any activities when we're moving around. As far as ending the activity, it usually goes to 10 minutes. I have had it ended early. And the only reason it ends early is because everybody ends up in group 5. So once that's done, it's over. The record was about 6.5 minutes where everybody was in group 5. And then maybe in a 20-person class, there's times where there's people, they will just turn their back, put their head on the wall and go, I'm not moving. I'm not giving up my group. And then it just stands there. The big thing with 5 is they're going to give high fives. So the first person that goes over usually is group 4. It could be group 2. It could be group 3. I've even had people from group 1 go into group 5 first. It's really weird. You'll get a couple people in there and they'll just stand there. Read all of your directions, group 5, and they go, oh. They read their directions and then they do this. They just stand there like this and like show the high five or show what you're supposed to do. And then you see them do this. And it's really funny. I've had students stand with both hands out here. The whole idea is to give that high five. So they're prepping it up here. And again, it depends on the personality of the students. If they're out there and they're aggressive and they're doing this stuff, other students will start doing this from the distance. And again, because there's no language involved in this, it makes it really unique to see how people engage with group 5, because group 5 is the utopian group. It is the group people need to be into. That's the moral of this activity. We all want to be in that center. We all want to be accepted. Now, I have had in record time of 2.5 minutes, they solved the human puzzle, as I call it. They were everywhere where they were supposed to be, and all the excess participants were back in their corners. And I just stood there. Still got 7 minutes. And I'd stand there. I go, group 2, are you sure you did it right? And I'll even look to group 1. Group 1, you sure? Next thing you know, everybody in the classroom is looking at their instructions. And then somebody will move and it just destroys everything and it starts all over again. And sometimes they don't even finish it and everybody just migrates over to group 5. That happens. You never know what's going to happen. But when you do this, please make sure you send me an email. Let me know how it went, because I love to hear the feedback on this.
One of the key things to remember is that laughter is good to break the tension. When students are stressed, they will laugh. You will laugh. Also, don't laugh at them, laugh with them. This is fun. Don't sit there and go, make this serious teacher face that, no, this is just nod your head, look around, check that clock, look around some more, and make sure you verbally cue them. Say, group 2, what are you doing over there? Group 3, come on, let's see something. Group 4, how's it going? If you do see a student in distress, and you'll know when you see it, you can go up to that student and say, what's going on? I don't want to do this. Hey, why don't you maybe move over to group 5? Don't say anything else, and let's see what happens. I know you're probably pretty busy with grading and other work. I know I am, so let's end this session here. In the next video, I'll be reviewing the after-activity debrief, a presentation idea that I've been using on diversity and discrimination. It's worked well for me in the past. I'll share it with you. And the assignment associated with this activity, along with some student self-reflections, names removed of course, of what they gained from this diversity and discrimination activity. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ding that notification bell to be reminded of new video releases, and please leave a comment or ask any question about this activity in the comment section below too. It will get answered. Until we meet again, be well, be safe, and I'll see you online.